But we're here to talk about how to pack for your gap year in Israel. I'm Melissa. This is Gaby. We're owners and CEOs of Pack for Camp, which is a website in Israel, a one-stop shop for everything you need for your child's year in Israel. We happen to be married to each other also, which is exciting side point, at least for us. We've been running this business for 7 years. It's a sister business to Pack for Camp, which is in the US, where we sell everything you might need for sleepaway camp. This business is based in Israel and everything is sourced in Israel. So there's nothing kind of going cross seas except for your children. None of our side of the business is going across the seas. We live in Israel and Modi'in with our 4 children, ages 10, 15, 18, and 20. And we've been in Israel for over 25 years. So first of all, if you want to see what we look like in our year in Israel, we were talking about that at the beginning. On the top is Gaby, who came on you'll hear his accent soon. He came on a Bnei Akiva South African year at the Gush. And there's me on the bottom. And I was at Midrashet Moriah. And that was taken on Yom Ha'atzmaut, actually. So not how many years ago? 23 years ago, a few weeks ago. So what we're going to talk about is, what should I bring from home?
I think 33.
33. Oh my gosh, my math is bad. I just wanted to be younger than I am. What am I going to bring from Israel? What should I bring from home? What should I buy in Israel? We'll talk a little bit about appliances. We'll talk about Israeli beds. We'll show you a few pictures of what a typical Israeli dorm room looks like. And we're going to have a question and answer session at the end, because we can't possibly present everything, in one go, but I'm sure you'll have questions, and the questions will overlap between you guys, because there are cycles of questions that we hear year in and year out, and no question is dumb and no question is stupid. So we're happy to hear it all. And then if you stay on till the end, which we encourage you to, we have a special offer for people that came to the webinar on our website. Okay, so first of all, why is packing for gap year different? Different than going on vacation, different than going to camp, different than anything you ever packed for. First of all, a year is a long time. Packed into a year are different seasons, and Israeli seasons, as you probably know, can be very extreme. So we have very hot springs even, and summers. Today, for example, it's over 90 degrees outside, and we're just in the middle of May. And we have rainy winters, depending where the program is. It can be very, very cold, lots and lots of rain. In other places, it's more mild. And it's unlike camp, because the packing list that you may get, and I say may because not every single program sends out a packing list, it doesn't really cover everything. It'll kind of cover your basics, but in order to know what you really need, it's about talking to people and hearing what the school provides. And we also provide a lot of resources around that sort of idea about what you need to pack or what you need to bring. So you might say, well, why can't I bring everything from home? When I went to Israel, now I know it's 33 years ago, we were allowed to bring 3 bags, and nobody was weighing our bags. Today, as you know, bags are restricted both in size and in weight. And so you can't fit everything in. So the kind of question is going to come up of what yes and what no. And we're going to touch on that very, very soon. Bulky, heavy items. Obviously, there are things that you're not going to bring from America, just because you can't. If you want to bring some huge storage drawers or that sort of thing. And also because there are different sizes and standards in Israel. And again, we'll talk about that in another moment. Okay, so what yes to bring from home? Let's start with the easy question. Things that are lightweight aren't going to be much of a question. So you don't have to say, sorry, honey, no underwear for you. You'll buy that in Israel because it's very light. It'll fit in their package, into their packing, no matter what you do. And their clothing from home. yes, they'll want to go shopping when they get to Israel, but obviously you're going to send them with clothing. So, they don't run your credit card through the ceiling, even though they may want to. Medicines, especially prescription medicines, are going to come from home, including bringing enough for the whole year if you can, and if not, for at least part of the year, and then, sending more later on. Eyewear, glasses, backup pair of glasses, contact lenses, contact lens solution, that sort of thing. Talus and tefillin for the boys or the girls if they're using them. And then items that will make their dorm feel like home. So, they're going to be homesick whether they tell you or not, and they'll want to have things that make them feel like home. So it could be pictures of their pets, of their siblings, of their parents, favorite blanket, favorite teddy bear, anything like that, sorts of things. It's definitely worth packing from home because you're not going to be able to replace that here in Israel.
Okay, so what to buy in Israel? So the first question is, why buy it in Israel? So we've touched on a few of those points, but let's just summarize some of them. So first of all, something you just can't bring. So if you want what's very popular is like a set of keder, like these plastic drawers next to your bed, you won't physically fit that into your luggage. Or if you want a standing fan in the middle of your room or a microwave, that's less popular. But I'm saying there's certain items that even if you wanted to, you just can't bring. And that's why it's worth buying those in Israel. Then there's the heavy items, or the bulky items, which in theory you could bring. So you could bring your blankets and pillows from home, but they are going to take up a lot of space and volume in your bag. And then it becomes a question of, do you want to stick with the bags that you're allowed, or do you want to start buying extra bags? So this question often comes up we're on a Gap Year parents group. And just a side point, if you want to join that group, if you're not on it already, that's a very useful group to be on Facebook. We've recently volunteered to be additional moderators on that group. So it's called Gap Year Parents.
Israel Gap Year Parents.
Right. So that's so they're often discussing, should I bring an extra bag? So there are pros and cons, obviously. If you do bring an extra bag, it's going to cost you, first of all, depending on your ticket and your airline. And there's also going to be extra schlepping because, the more bags that your kid's taking from the airport to their school and whatever, the more bags they have, it's going to be heavier. So a lot of people just opt to buy the bulky stuff in Israel and just bring the stuff like clothing and basic necessities from the US. Another nice plus, especially during this time of buying in Israel, is just supporting Israeli businesses, which is always a positive thing. So let's look at some of the particular items that are very popular to buy in Israel, and for a lot of the reasons we discussed. So the linens is probably the most popular item that people like to buy ahead of time. And there's two reasons. One obvious one is that they take up a lot of space. But another aspect that people don't always think about is that the actual sizes are different to US sizes. So a standard Israeli bed, we have the measures up here, 35.5 inches by 79 inches, are different to the standard US beds. You can wing it. So, you can get your sheet to cover your bed. For example, if you have an Israeli blanket, but a US blanket cover, so it's going to be a little bit awkward. So the fits are going to be awkward. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's awkward. So when you buy the stuff here in Israel, you're going to have stuff that is designed for the Israeli beds. And obviously, it's going to save you the space in your bag. Just a note about the stuff we have on our website. The quality of the stuff is stuff that we use at our own home. So it's not like, I would say Melissa mentioned earlier that we have a camp website. So the quality is good there too, but it's taking into account that it's going to camp. Here, where there's stuff that the kids are using for an entire year, we take that into account, and it's going to be that type of quality that you would have in your home as well. Okay, toiletries. So toiletries are another thing that are worthwhile buying in Israel for a number of reasons. A, they're heavy, and they can spill. I don't know about you, but I've had plenty experiences where you get to whatever destination you're going to and your toothpaste is all over your wedding outfit or whatever it is that you are planning to wear. So toiletries don't always travel that well. And having them waiting for you on this end, saving you the space and the risk of spilling everywhere is always a good idea. Now, there are other issues around the toiletries, and that is that the Israeli toiletries that are produced in Israel are also take into consideration the water in Israel. So the water is harder in Israel. It's higher in mineral content. So the shampoos, even the American brands, let's say there's a lot of brands that you'll recognize, Pantene, Palmolive, etc. So the ones that are marketed in Israel are also produced taking the Israeli water into account. And we've actually had people tell us, including nurses who have been on site at the different seminaries and yeshivot, that kids will sometimes complain of like itchy hair and stuff when they're using their American toiletries. And when they've told them to switch to Israeli stuff, the problem often goes away. So that's another reason to use the Israeli products. Okay, small appliances and accessories. So again, one reason to buy them from Israel is the bulk. But with small appliances, with anything electric, there's another aspect, and that is the voltage. The voltage is different in the US and in Israel. In the US, you're talking about appliances being typically 110 volts, and in Israel, it's 220. Now, there's certain appliances where it doesn't matter because things like a telephone, a shaver, those kind of things are going to be dual voltage. The only thing there is the actual shape of the plug. So to adjust the shape of the plug is very easy. You buy these they're very cheap. We have them on our website. You can pick them up here as well. You buy these little adapters that changes the shape of the plug. You plug it in, no problem. So there's no reason to buy those dual voltage items here. When you get to bigger items, not huge items, but even something like a fan or a heater or a clock, anything like that, or a toaster, that's when it gets more complicated. Those items are typically not dual voltage. So just taking an adapter is not going to help you. What you would need then is a converter or a transformer. Now, those converters and transformers are much more expensive than regular adapters, and they don't always work, especially when it comes to items that involve heating, like a kettle or a toaster, and anything that involves keeping time. They're not very reliable and they can get expensive. So it's for that reason that a lot of people just choose to, when it comes to those appliances that are specific to the voltage in Israel, to just buy it in Israel. And a lot of them are not that expensive either. So if you want a little panini or a kettle or whatever it is, it's usually worthwhile to buy that here. And then you know that it can just plug and play, in with the local electricity.
Okay, I'm just going to remind you at this point that we're segueing. There is going to be time for questions at the end. So if you have questions, you can write them down on the side. You can even write them into the chat. That's where we're going to be taking the questions from. So let's talk about a typical Israeli dorm room. You probably already know that it's not a luxury hotel. Or if you think it is, then let me be the first person to burst your bubble. This is a picture that we took in Eretz Hatzvi in Yerushalayim. It's a boys' yeshiva. You can see that the amount of space that they have. This is a room for 2 boys. There are 2 beds, 2 sets of shelves, and 2 desks. In 2 more slides, I have a bit more of the entry to the room. They share a bathroom, there's a closet, but there really isn't that much space for their stuff. What we found that these boys were using their space underneath their beds for a lot of things. Some of them had boxes, some were just shoving their stuff. And then you'll see in the next picture what it is. It's kind of sparse, the rooms. This, what we call like the old spotty tiles, we call them, like an older Israeli kind of tile that you wouldn't have in a house that you built today. But that's how the dorms look like. And here's a girls' room. Tiles are a little bit more updated, but this is a girls' room for 3. You can't really see the whole room here, but you can see kind of that she put some shelves underneath her desk. And here on the right side, she's got a 2-door closet. So each of the girls, there were 3 girls in this room, and they had this closet. They did not have any kitchen space. The kitchen was outdoors. They were shared, not outdoors in outside, outdoors in the hallway where they were sharing with a few other rooms. Now here's the rest of what we saw on the right side. In the boys, you can see as they came in here, he's got storage space over his bathroom door. This was the bathroom. And then they have a tiny kitchenette where they had a few things plugged in and a little refrigerator. I believe the refrigerator was given by the school, but each school is different. So, you know, they'll tell you, oh, this is what the space looks like. This is what they have. This is how much storage space they have, and etc. So I'm just gonna touch on the storage solutions because you see that there's lack of space. Everybody here, they try to utilize all the space they can. That being said, we have found dorms that were like overloaded with storage products. So sometimes we have summer programs we work with, like NCSY, for example, and everybody bought like a 5-drawer plastic thing for the room, except there wasn't any space to move in the room. So there might be 5 boys in a room and nowhere to put their clothing that they brought, but there was no space for the shelves they bought either. So it's something to take into account. So you can use extra drawers. Here we have a picture of like an underbed storage. They come in a few different ways. Over the door can kind of go anywhere in the room. So it can go over the closet door and over the bathroom door, because obviously not everybody's going to get the main door, but you can use that space. And then all sorts of other solutions like taking hanging space and turning that into shelves, and all sorts of things like that.
Okay, so and now before we get to the questions, I'll just introduce you to the website itself if you're not familiar. So on Pack for Israel, we really have tried to create a space where you can buy everything you need for your gap year. So you can see the different categories like the blanket sheets and pillows, towels, appliances, storage, toiletries. There's lots of different categories, and we keep expanding the items because we get feedback from our customers and from the schools of different things that they need. Some things we weren't even aware of in the first place. So for example, there was one parent who asked us if they could get a yoga mat for their child. So we said, okay. And we found a source for it. And the next thing we knew, we were selling quite a few of them because it's not something we would have thought of on our own. But I guess things have evolved since we were in school and a lot of kids are doing exercises. So we're constantly sort of adding those relevant products, and we're always open to hearing new ideas. But there's very few things that you won't find on the website. And we really try to make it into kind of a one-stop shop. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about the delivery as well, because this is an important aspect of the website. Most websites you go on, whether in Israel or in the States, you place your order, it's going to get shipped and fulfilled within a few days. When we get an order, we're always looking which school it's going to, and we're then coordinating with the schools for 2 reasons. We don't want stuff sitting around and getting lost before it gets there. And the schools themselves are sensitive to when they can accept packages, etc. So every time an order comes in, especially before the students have arrived, we're talking to the schools. We're working out the best time so that it's convenient for the school, but that it's also there when your child arrives so that they have everything they need. So that's very carefully planned logistically with the schools and with our delivery people. Once they're here already, it becomes easier because then, if they're already here, then we're often just communicating with the students themselves, finding the most convenient time to deliver. What you'll find on our website beyond the actual stuff that you can buy, we have tons of content. We really try to provide a lot of resources for you. So we'll have, for example, packing lists, all sorts of tips for you in Israel. So for example, there's a lot of discussion around budgeting. How much money should I allow my child to have for, per month or whatever it is. So we've taken a lot of feedback from parents. We've also scoured the different Facebook groups, and we've come up with articles that discuss those items. We also have guest blogs. So we have psychologists and doctors who are contributing resources and that you can explore. On top right of our website, you'll see the resources, and there's lots of content there, just to help you prepare for the year. And when you signed up for this website, you also subscribe to our newsletter. So we send those periodically with the resources that I mentioned, as well as highlighting different collections that we may have on the website.